Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Pethley and I'm working on a wreath today. It's a spring welcome wreath and we're going to try something different. We're going to put mesh on a grapevine wreath form. So come in and join me and hopefully I can teach you something that you haven't seen before. I've started with, I've put my zip ties into my grapevine form just to save us a little time. I've also cut my mesh, and I've picked out mesh that is going to mimic the colors of this sign. You can see that it's kind of brown. I'm picking up the blue, and then I'm going to put in some yellow as well. So I have those three color meshes already cut. So let's get started. And as I've said, all I've done is I've fed some zip ties through my grapevine wreath form, all right? Just again to save us time. It is kind of tricky, but what I've done is pretty much I've started a starting point, determined my starting point, and then I've kind of just measured the width of my hand in between each one of the zip ties as we go around. And what I'm going to do is then that'll fill up pretty much, I would say, not quite 3/4, probably more like 2/3 of this wreath. I do want this part of the grapevine to show, again, because it mimics what the sign has. This is pretty much a grapevine wreath on the sign. So let's get started. Now I've cut the mesh. I have 3 different kinds of mesh, and the numbers I will put in a supply list after this video. But you can see I have a neutral color, a yellow color, and the blue. Now, I've cut the 2 of these, the neutral and the yellow, at 25 inches. And the reason I've done that is because this mesh is a little thicker, all right? And I've cut this one at 30 inches because it's a little thinner. And I wanted 5 extra inches of coverage, not necessarily width, but when you compact this mesh, you'll be able to, less likely to be able to see through it if you have a little bit more. So again, this is cut at 25 inches, and then this is cut at 30 inches. So let's just start putting this in, and we'll see how it goes. I'm just going to start a pattern, pretty much follow it all the way through the wreath, and we'll see how it all looks when we're done. I'm going to take and make cruffles out of this. The way I make cruffle is I start on this end. Let's get something to hold this down. Okay, I'm going to start on this end, curl it onto itself, then scrunch up the middle. Okay, and when I get to this end, I'm just going to turn this end on top of itself, also making a curl at this end. And then you can see that you have a cruffle, 2 curls and a ruffle. Okay, so let's just put this in. And I might knock out some of my zip ties, but it's all good here. Just gonna put it in, pull it tight. I'll tell you what, you may need needle nose pliers just to get this a little tighter, but we'll see. Okay, so there we have it. Our first one's in. Let's continue. And now I've only put 12 of the 12 zip ties in. So I've cut 4 of each of the colors of the mesh that I'm using. Here again, I'm just going to make a cruffle by making 2 curls and a ruffle in between it. All right, let's just move down to our next zip tie. When you put your zip ties in, just try to grab just a few branches, and I'll explain why. The zip ties compress the branches in the grapevine, and if they're too tight, you're going to find it difficult to put any flowers or anything that you want to stick in between them, and that's actually what I want to do. This is leaving, you can see, a little bit of a gap between them, so that when we enhance our wreath with flowers after the sign and the bow are put on, then we'll have little areas to glue the flowers into. And that's why I've spaced the zip ties the way I have. Okay, so let's do the blue. The majority of my supplies have come from Trendy Tree, And again, I will give you a complete list of the numbers if you would like to purchase any of these items that I'm using. All right, so we've made another cruffle. Just going to move right on down the line here. And also, when I've put these zip ties in, I've kind of staggered them inside, outside. So you'll see that it's giving us better coverage of the whole wreath. Okay, I'll trim off all those ends at the end. Alrighty, and we're just trying to, there, you can see here is a better example of inside, outside of the wreath, inside of the wreath, out, in, out. So I've just kind of weaved them in and out that way. Let's go back to our original pattern. I'm going to grab the neutral. Okay. I'm just going to curl, ruffle, and come to the other end and just curl it on top of itself and scrunch it together, and it gives you that little cruffled look. The reason I've decided to do a grapevine wreath today is because when I make these wreaths on a work form, they tend to get very, very thick and puffy. And what I'm just trying to do is trying to use a different method and see if I can keep the design a little bit thinner front to back, okay? I don't know if you've seen some of my wreaths in my Etsy shop. Some of them can get as thick as 12 inches, depending on what I've put into them. So that's why I'm gonna try this method just to see if I can keep it on the thinner side, but still have the same appeal as another mesh wreath on a work form. And this one's gonna be a little bit difficult because I have a thick branch, but we'll see if I can do it with the needle nose. I might have to just move this one particular. Oh, I might get it. There we go. We just need a few clicks to know that it's in. Woo! All right. That was a little testy there. Now the reason I've built it out on this corner is that I want the sign to nestle in and almost create the look of the bird sitting in I'll put a lot of flowers here by the ribbon, and hopefully make it look like he's sitting in a nest of flowers. Of course, you always have these ideas when you start out. You just have to hope that they turn out the way that you're hoping they do. But of course, with everything, if you don't like it, just take it apart and start over. Let's grab. Sometimes these needle nose pliers are your best friends. Okay, now this one has been shifting on me the whole time, but I think it's going to stay there. Just have a few more to put in. Okay. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. Again, I'm just turning this on itself and scrunching up the middle of the mesh. And when I come to this side, just fold it down on top of itself. If you fold it tightly, the curls pop out. And you can see that they've formed a perfect curl on both ends. All right. Now, I don't know how many of you are watching, how many of you seen or tried to do a wreath like this. You know, there are a lot of different forms that you can use. You don't always have to use the big, thick wreath forms. They do make it very easy, though, to make a wreath, especially if you're a beginner and you're not quite sure of the spacing or how much mesh you would need. Working on those forms is a very easy way to get started. Okay. Let me know in the comments if you've ever done a wreath technique this way. Maybe you can suggest something to me. Okay. Let's get this one down here before it sinks in. Now, of course, you could use longer zip ties than I'm using. I'm just using 6-inch zip ties. If you have difficulty, just use longer zip ties and everything will be just fine. Now this one, this is the one that's going to give me trouble too. I'm going to just reinsert it. It just came through. This is a thicker branch here, and if you grab too many of the thick branches, then the zip tie definitely doesn't fit. So let's see if I can get this through real quick. I can tell you other designers have used this technique. Jackie from Fancy Front Door uses this technique quite a bit. She probably doesn't have as much trouble as I do with these zip ties. Maybe she uses longer ones, but I'm stubborn. There we go. Got it. Alrighty. Back to it. We have to put the blue in. We just have 3 more after this. Okay, and this is what I meant by, if you just turn it tightly on itself, see how those ends just pop out into that perfect curl? Scrunch it together. And let's put this one in to the one I struggled with. Here we go. Okay, just have 3 more, and then we're done with the mesh. You know, all mesh will fray, and this technique, this cruffle technique, is one way to minimize the amount of fraying that your mesh will do. Because you're curling inward the cut edges of the mesh. So anytime that you can do that, you're going to minimize the fraying potential of the mesh you're using. Okay. All right. After this, I'm going to put on the sign. I've already prepped it, and this sign is a very heavy sign, so, and I wanted it to, like I said, nestle. So I'll give you some hints on how to mount a heavy sign. And our last mesh here. I'm going to give a little shout out to my granddaughters, Adela and Lexi. They are the ones who have helped me tremendously get up the courage to do a live video. We vlog all the time that we're together. If we're baking cookies, or they like to do a pretend vlog, so I don't know how many times I've made cookies with them or made slime with them, and we've had to pretend to talk to the studio audience, or we've never done it live, but they love to pretend to vlog. So here's our wreath. Okay, to me it looks like a giant clown's head right now. But let's cut out the zip tie ends. There's going to be 12 of them. And just go to the middle and find them. All right, last two. And there we go. All right, now. All right, so this is how I'd like the wreath, the frame, the sign to kind of sit in this area here. All right, so the sign comes with 2 holes, top and bottom. I'm using the bottom one, and then I made 2 on the sides because that wreath is, the sign is going to sit. And the top one is of pretty much no use because my wreath form is so much bigger than that. So you would just see the chenille stem sticking out. So let's just feed the chenille stem through the wreath. Now, you may need this is the most useful thing I found. This is just a plastic, kind of like a crochet needle. Okay, and you can see that it has a, can you see it? A big eye. Okay, this is going to help. Just put one of your pipe cleaner ends through it. Then just push this down through the wreath, and it will go through all the branches. As soon as we find out where we want this, I just want to make sure. There we go. So could be more over in this area. If you go through the mesh, that's perfect. That's just going to give your sign more stability. Let's push it through, and then pull the pipe cleaner right through the bottom of the wreath, and then go back and get the other pipe cleaner. Here it is. And push that one through as well. And then I'll flip over the back and show you where they come out and how to just tie them off. Okay, so you can see they've just come through 2 different sides of a twig. We're going to just tie it, and I'm going to tie it. I'm not going to tie it as tightly yet because I'm not sure how it's all going to sit. So let's turn it over and do the next one. There we go. I'll do this one here. Just feed it through. The reason we feed it through is so that your pipe cleaners don't show. You don't want them to straddle the wreath and show. This way they're coming through the wreath frame itself. And I'm using beige or tan pipe cleaner, so maybe it'll blend in a little bit better with the twigs. So just again, going to tie it, twist it around. When you like where your sign is and how it's seated, then you can just take and twist these up and then cut them off and tuck them back into the twigs of the wreath. Okay, let's get this last one in. This one I'm going to be going through the mesh again, so I'm going to use my needle just to get it through the mesh. There we go. Now we can tighten it down. I do like how it's placed. So I'm going to tighten this one and then tuck it in to the twigs in the back. Now, you know, I don't clean my grapevine wreath. You could get these, of course, from Trendy Tree. They have all different types of forms. They have work frames. They have Unique in the Creek boards. They have just a bunch of different forms that you can use to build your wreath on. Okay, and all I'm doing is tucking in those pipe cleaners so that they don't show. They're not hanging out. And I haven't cut them, again, because you just never know if you need to make any adjustments or what have you. Okay, so just, there we go. Now, I'm thinking that I'd like a bow down here. So with that in mind, I've picked out a few ribbons. I use a bow maker when I make my bows. You can use the Easy Bow Maker. And these are the ribbons that I've already picked out. Okay, I'll turn them on their side for you so you can kind of see. I have a burlap. Okay, and this is how I'm going to kind of build the bow. I started primarily with this ribbon. Break it open for us. And this is the ribbon that I got from Trendy Tree with the sign. You can see that the ribbon, which is a bird, picks up the yellow, the blue, the pink, everything from the sign. It was almost as if this sign and ribbon were made together. But this is basically the foundation of the bow that I'm going to start, that I'm building around. I'm going to start with a beige, then a blue to pick up the blue, of course the main ribbon. I'm going to repeat a beige again to bring it more towards the front of the ribbon, followed by a pink, a blue, and a yellow. So let's get started with the bow. All right. Let's start with this. Now this one is going to give me little fits because this holder is so big. So I'm going to just pull off some. Now I want the bow to sit here, and I want it to be kind of an elongated bow. I don't want it to be too much to take over this the bird. So we're going to just start with, let's see, we want this one to be a long tail. So let's start by dovetailing the end. Okay. The way you dovetail is you just fold the ribbon. I'll show it to you when I get to that. Let's make a 6-inch. Let's go to a 7-inch loop. Okay, we're going to twist it. I'm going to make a 7-inch loop down here. With the 7-inch. Now just compress it. The reason you twist the first time is you want the correct side of the ribbon to come out. Unfortunately, this ribbon is exactly the same, so on both sides, so it's not a good example. I'll show you on the next couple of ribbons. Okay, let's fold it and dovetail that end. All right. When I make a bow, I make X's. All right. You can see that the tails make an X and the loop make an X. The first loop is generally I keep it along the side on top of the bow maker. But then after that, you'll see I make X's off of the bow maker with the following ribbons. I'll show you. Okay, let's grab up our next one. Again, we want the lower, all the long tails down on this side of the bow, all right? So that we can put the bow in this way and have all the long tails flow down and then the other tails go upwards. All right, we're gonna start with this blue. I'm going to dovetail this end. Okay. And once we started on this side of the bow maker, so now I'm going to start on this side. And again, I'm going to make kind of a longer loop. This is probably about 10 inches. I'm going to twist. You can see I'm twisting. And again, this is not a good ribbon to show you the difference of sides either, because both sides are the same. So we'll get to that ribbon. Okay, we're going to twist again. All right, and the reason we're twisting is because this is actually the correct side of the ribbon. And you want, when you make the bow or the loop, it comes over. So you want the correct side to come over on top. Now this loop is just a little bit smaller than the first loop. Then we're just going to compress this down. And then cut the tail. And dovetail. Okay, and this is what I meant by making X's. All right, you'll see that now the blue makes an X as it crosses. I always, like I said, I start with my first ribbon I keep it on the bow maker, and then I build the X's off of it. All right, so our next one is going to be the ribbon that started this whole project. And put it in. I'm going to see if this is a directional ribbon, and it is. You can see by directional, all the birds are facing up, all right? So we just want to be aware of that when you're putting it in your bow maker, that like this tail, all the birds are going up, which is going to be perfect because that's the bottom of my bow and all the birds are in the right. But you can see here now we need to definitely twist this ribbon because we have the right side and the wrong side on this ribbon. So now the wrong side is up, but we're bringing the bow, the loop over it. So it'll be the right side, correct side now. Okay. We're going to do the same on this side and compress it because we're just making 2 loops, 1 on each side. Then let's cut it and dovetail it. Now you don't have to dovetail right away. You can dovetail once the bow is in your project. That's fine. Many times I will, even though I've dovetailed now, once I get the bow in the project, I end up having to adjust them. Okay, so let's take a quick look at this. These birds are flying up. These birds are flying up. This tail, the birds are flying up. This one is not. They're all flying basically down the bow. So I'm going to take that whole loop and just twist the whole loop and press it down. And now those birds are flying the same direction as the other 3 parts of this bow. Just by taking that whole loop and twisting it. Give it a good solid twist. And there you have it. Now they're all flying upwards. Okay. Okay, from here we're going to go to the pink ribbon. And again, this pink one is, it's like a big cheese wheel. It's just a little too big for my bow maker with the bow in it. So I'm just going to pull off some. All right, this tail started here. So we're going to start on this end. On this side. So we're going to start kind of a long tail. Give it a twist in the middle. Reduce the loop just a little bit from the loop before it. And there we go. Cut this one. This is the embossed ribbon. Very, very popular. It's new this year. It's a beautiful ribbon. It holds its shape. It gives you a delicate, almost filigree look to it, I think. It just is very pretty. Comes in all different colors. I think you'll be seeing it a lot because it's definitely the trend this year. Okay, now let's try a blue. We're going to bring this blue in. Again, because we want to bring the blue that's towards the bottom of our bow. Actually, I did forget one ribbon, but it's not going to make a huge difference. It's my beige. I'm going to put that in before the blue. I want to bring the beige from the bottom up to the top. And I'm doing that by just putting it in at a higher layer throughout the bowl. So let's make it here. And I will say this, I think that adding a little bit of black, even the smallest amount, helps make your ribbons and bows pop just a little bit. So while there's no real black in the sign that I'm using, there is a, you know, it will add something to the ribbon, to the overall bow, I should say, just having a touch of black in it. So it definitely does have the beige that I need, the tan that I need. It's giving me a little extra with the Swiss dots in black. Okay, so now let's go to that blue, the originally. And again, all we're doing is we're just alternating between what side we start on. Okay, the black polka dot went on this side, so we're going to start up here with this one. Make it a longer tail. And I know I'll probably end up cutting these, but you can certainly cut ribbon. You can't put it back. I'll just twist it, put it in and compress it, and keep making your X's. Okay, and finally our last ribbon is a yellow ribbon. And it will bring the color of the original bow, that yellow and pink and blue bow. It'll bring that color to the top. Okay, we started on this side. Let's finish on this side. Twist it. Really push down in the middle. That's going to make all your loops spring up a little bit. Let's cut this. And I do have these tails going incorrectly. We're going to go. The loop should be down here. The tail should be up there. Make our X. Okay. And by doing this, you can pretty much see all of the ribbons. When I fluff it, we'll make sure that all the loops come up to have their day of glory. All right, so let's get this off. Now what you need is a pipe cleaner for the bottom of the bow. And I use a zip tie to tie off the bow. Okay, so we're going to take a zip tie. We're just going to feed it under that very bottom. Make sure we get all of it. Go around it. And then come up in the middle. just pull your bow up. Before you tighten it, a couple of things you want to do. You want to make sure the zip tie is going towards the back of the bow. Okay, you're going to compress with your fingers all the ribbons. Get that as some tension so it's less tension on your hand. You want to make sure that the zip tie goes into that valley or that divot that the pegs created when you put your ribbons on the bow maker. I'm just putting my pipe cleaner underneath so that it's, when I cinch this up, it's caught with the ribbons as well. And then just tighten, and let's cut off the zip tie. Okay, so let's fluff our bow. Remember, I want the bow to sit like this on the wreath. So this is the bottom of my bow, and that's also where all the long tails are. All right, so the very first ribbon was our beige ribbon, beige burlap. Then the next one is our blue. So we're going to just pull the tail one direction, and we're going to pull the loop the other direction. The yellow is the next, the bird flower. So pull the tail and the loop different directions. Now the pink, loop and tail. All right, then the blue, loop, oh, I'm sorry. Then the beige, black, then the blue, and finally your yellow. So you can see, like all the tails, let's get them just so that each loop is highlighted in a little window. Okay, see, we have our 2.5 inch ribbons, and then we have all of the pink, the 1.5 inch ribbons. Okay. Just give each loop a little life. All right, and all the tails will come down towards the bottom eventually. We'll work it in. Once we get it in the bow into the wreath, we'll be able to tug a little bit firmer, and we'll trim what we need to trim. If we don't like the look, let's go to the, flip it over and do the same thing on the top. Just pull the tail and the loop, the different opposite directions. Here's the blue is the next, then the yellow, then your pink, your Swiss dot black and beige, the green, blue-green, and finally the yellow. All right, just again, just give it life. And just take your hands, just like curling ribbon. Remember at Christmas time, you'd curl the ribbon with your scissors? Just do that with your hands. Give the little arc to the ribbons in your bow. Make them all proud to be in your bow. Okay, so again, this is the direction that I want the bow to go into the wreath. So let's put it in. Again, we don't want to smother that little bird. Okay, so we'll just have to, we'll put the bow in, then we'll separate the, now this is definitely where that little needle is going to help you, because we've got to get this pipe cleaner through this mesh, through the wreath. Just pull it, and then just have to get the other one now, the other side of it, and do the exact same thing. Just push it in through the mesh and the wreath. That needle finds its way no matter what you have to do. It will find its way through the back of the wreath. I say that, but I pulled it a little too hard and it was like a spring. It just sprung right back through. Let me try this one more time. And there we go. Well, let's do it a third time. A third time's got to be the charm, don't you think? Alrighty. Okay, there we did it. 3 times was the charm. Now just tighten it up and really give it a good tug. So you want it to sit down in that mesh. And as we did with the sign pipe cleaners, we're just going to twist it up. And we're going to shove it into the bottom, back up through to the top of the grapevine. It won't come out the top. It just nestles in with all the other twigs and things. All right. So now let's just fluff up our bow. Spread the tails and the loops around a little bit. Each a little life and a curl. Just unbury them a little bit. Okay, so at this point you can trim up your tails if you want. I'm going to trim up some obvious, very obvious ones that need to be trimmed, like this one here. This one here is longer than these by far, so I'm going to trim it up. All right, I'm just going to fold it in half and then cut it, just like I would dovetailing. Okay, and this yellow one as well is a little bit too long for my liking, so I'm going to trim it up. Okay. You're the boss of your bow. You tell those tails where they're supposed to be. Move them how you want. Okay, now this one up here needs to be cut. These two as well. A lot of times this is just because when you build a bow and when it's attached, things get shifted around a little bit. So it's no big deal. But as long as you made them long in the first place, if you cut them too short in the first place, and then, you know, this way at least you modify it to what you need it to be. There we go. So there is the first part of our wreath. All right, let's get rid of all this. The next part is the part we're just going to add some greenery and some flowers in. What I've chosen, now I'm not going to use all of this, but these are the ones that I've found so far. I want to pick up the little purple flower that's in the sign. Sure, you can see if you can see that. There's a little purple flower. So I'm going to add a few of these. These are just mini hydrangeas. And if you can imagine, I got this off of Amazon. They have some really, really interesting florals on Amazon. I'm sure for the wedding, people who make their own wedding flowers and things. So I also have that in pink. Not quite sure I'm going to need that in pink though. This is the greenery that I was thinking of adding. It's got a little bit of a yellow tone to the flowers, yellow and green. So I was going to cut that up in pieces and tuck that in. Remember, in between all of the little mesh, we have the grapevine. So we're going to just stick it in there. I have this greenery, which has a yellow tip to it or a tone to it. I'm not quite sure. This is a pusher, so that means that all the stems can go up. It's got longer ferns in it that we can use. All right. And then my biggest bush here for the pink and the pink, purple, and yellow combination that's in the sign. I have a bush that has all of these flowers in it. Now this is truly an amazing bush because you can cut off each one of these stems as something different, you know. So it's all in the color palette that we want, the yellows, the purples, and you can see that it has a great, there's such a variety in this that you almost can probably just need this bush in addition to maybe the greenery. So let's move this greenery backwards. Hold on to him for a while. And let's start with this greenery. Then we'll add this bush. And if we need to accent any more, I'll cut up one of these little hydrangea plants. Okay? So I'm going to quickly just cut this bush up. I'll hold this so that I know what I used. Again, I'll put it all in the list for you. And this is also a pusher. See how you can just push this up and it goes from a long filler to kind of a squattier filler. So let's see how many there are on this. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. There's 9 stems on this. That's pretty nice bush. Okay, so I'm going to cut them long still because we have to put them through the mesh into the grapevine. So the longer the stem, the better. Now I have a glue pot that's off camera. So I will be dipping these into the glue pot, but unfortunately you won't see it. Oh, you might see it a little bit. Do you see it over here? No. Okay. So let's just start. We have 9. I have another bush back there if I want to use it. But let's just start at one end and fill in. And if you're uncomfortable with any of this process, you can always do it without gluing it in, like this, just to see how you like it, where you need more, things like that. You know, you can always bend the stem a little bit to get it in. You want it to go with the grapevine. You don't want it to be, let me show you on this side. You don't want to add it straight through the grapevine. You want it to go along the grapevine like that. Okay? So there's a difference. This would poke right through the back. This part kind of blends in with the other twigs and works in with the look. Now, again, just push. Just find those little areas of the grapevine that we left in between. Okay. And I'm just going to take and kind of wiggle it around till I'm happy with what it looks like. Okay, we want to also always remember to go underneath the bow as well. you want your, you don't really see that one as much, but we know it's there. This one needs to be just a little bit down. It's a little close to the first one. So let me just trim off a little bit of it. Get it just a little lower. There we go. So it's spaced out a little bit more. And don't forget, we'll have lots of flowers to add, so we don't have to make it all up with just the greenery. We can between the flowers and the greenery, it's going to just fill out perfectly. Okay, so let's move around here to this side. I'm just separating my mesh so I can find the grapevine. There we go. All right, I'm going to start other. So I did bring 2 of these, so I know that I like the way I place this, so I'm just going to take them out and glue them in. Now again, my glue pot is off camera, but you can see I'm putting a fairly big amount of glue on there, and just go back into where I thought it was going to go in the first place. All right, and just work your way through. But if you want, you can certainly do a dry run before you actually glue it all in. And you can always, remember, you can always take something that doesn't look right, you can take it out. You can always just pull it out. This one just needs to be cut down a bit. There we go. Now, I'll tell you what, I fixed my bow probably 100 times during this process. So don't worry, we can refluff those bows when we get everything put in where we want it to put in. So if you were looking for any of these items, again, I will give you all of the SKUs. I'll tell you where I got them. The majority of everything I'm using here came from Trendy Tree. I do have a few ribbons that did not come from Trendy Tree, but can be easily found, or you can certainly find something very close to it from Trendy Tree. So they have a beautiful selection of ribbons and mesh and flowers. You can find everything you need at that. They have a very convenient app to use to purchase everything. Makes it very easy to buy. Okay, let's start on the top. And we're going to just keep doing the same thing. Now you see that all of the flowers on the bottom are kind of tilting down or off. Now these we want from the bow upwards, we want them all pointing up. All right, just keep that in mind when you're putting things in. That you usually have a transition point unless you're making a all-around wreath, and in that case you will enter everything, you'll put everything in the same direction, you know, all going the same direction. But in this case, when you're just putting it in like this, you're going to put it in my case, from above the bow, everything points upward, and below the bow, everything points downward. All right, get one on the inside. Just take your time. This is actually kind of the relaxing part for me, is just basically making an arrangement. Okay, now I'm going to just pull off the second bush. Push them up again. Okay, I didn't cut them all off. I'm not sure that I need them all, since we do have quite a few other ones. Let me just quickly answer this. I'm sorry for this. All right. I avoided this spot, but I think I'm going to stick one in. Won't hurt to have a couple of different, there we go. Again, just go with the wreath if you need to bend it. And I'll tell you what, all of the florals these days have wires and everything. They're so easily manipulated. They're really very easy to work with. Now, if you are just beginning and you don't have a glue pot, you can use a glue gun. But I will tell you that the glue pots make it so much easier, a little bit quicker as well. Just to clip it, dip it, and stick it. And believe me, you can enhance a wreath very, very quickly using a glue pot. And if you can't find a glue pot per se, don't buy the specialty ones. You know what I did? I just went and bought a small hot skillet from Amazon. Does the same exact thing. The electric skillets that we used to, my mom used quite a bit as a kid growing up. I tend not to use it other than for crafts, but it certainly is a wonderful invention. Serves its purpose. Okay, so let me take a quick look this way, see if it needs anything else. Of course, I have more. I can always add it. But let's move in with these flowers here. Now, when you cut these down, I personally don't like the leaves on this. They kind of, I don't know, they're a little too shiny for me. So I'm going to take and I'm going to only use one set of the leaves on each stem. And if I don't like them when they're in there, I'll cut them off. But I'm just going to, again, cut these flowers with long stems. And then we'll separate them. Now this is really cool. This one has a eucalyptus on it. That's a nice flower, nice greenery. And it also has berry bushes, which is a very nice, it's different textures. All of these different textures are going to just play beautifully into this wreath. Now, I'm going to get rid of this leaf, only because it's got the eucalyptus on it. And then this one is just a eucalyptus branch. But see what I said? This just comes with so many blooms. It's going to mix very nicely with our, let's take the price tag off and I'll save it for what I used. And then we'll finish cutting this up. Now, if you can't find these exact florals, I'll tell you, Walmart, if you have a Walmart close to you, or Hobby Lobby, or Michael's, all of them carry wonderful flowers. But I can't say that I shop at those stores. I typically get everything from Trendy Tree. I'm not quite sure if I got this from Trendy Tree or not. I don't think so. But for my supply list, I promise you I will have it all listed for you so that you can find something like it, if not exactly the item. Okay, so let's start. Let's just sort it out. We have yellow and purple, and then the pink hydrangeas. And I'm going to call these miscellaneous bushes, these berries and eucalyptus branches. Yellow, purple, purple, pink, pink, and yellow. Okay, and this is the extra. All right, so let's start with our biggest blooms, all right? And let's place those. I think the yellows are bigger. And in the yellows, we have 2 blooms and 3, we have 2 buds, I'm sorry, and 3 blooms. So we're going to work in a triangle. We're going to put, see, this is just a fray. Just pull it out. You're going to be fine. Okay, so we're going to spread these blooms throughout the wreath and try to make triangles out of them so that your eye will see things in triangles better than, it's just, a triangle will help your eye move throughout the whole wreath, okay? I'm just going to place these for now. Just going to see how I like it. Again, I'm just trying to find some place that has the grapevine that I can put these in. I want one over here. And definitely keep some of these longer so that they don't all, your wreath doesn't look mounded. It's going to look, you don't want it to look mounded. You want it to kind of, let's put this a little further over here. I'm going to bend it so that it can slide in. Okay. But do you see how the 3 kind of work? Now these are the buds. So let's put the buds. We can put a bud down here. Okay, and we can put a bud up here if we want. Okay, so now we're going to take the next biggest and we're going to work these in between the spots that have been left by the other. So let's start with this purple, this light pink. Let's put one down here. And as with nature, nothing grows side by side. So make sure when you put these in that they have a little bit of a tilt to them so that they're looking in a different direction. Last thing you want is your wreath to look like it's got eyes staring at you because 2 blooms are put right next to each other. But see how this one sticks out a little bit more than the yellow? Give it a little depth and different perspective. Okay, I'm going to do the same here. Again, I'm just trimming them just a titch, all right? Not a lot, just enough to... Okay. And then I think we need one up here, don't you? Let's put one up here. And trim it off just a bit. All right. Let's lean it forward so that it doesn't look like it's on the same lane. All right, so I'm looking at the camera and seeing if that looks like a good spread so far. So why don't we do this? Let's go back, glue in the ones that we have already before we start our next grouping of flowers. All right, so I'll start down here, just follow it around. I kind of, when I pull it out, I hold finger space where I pulled it out of. And of course, move your finger before that glue slides in there on your finger, but just, there we go. Just move right on down the line, pull it out, kind of slide it where you want it to go back in. And really, it's very, very easy with finding the spots to put it in, because the gaps in the mesh that we originally put in when we zip tied it to the wreath frame, there's little gaps in there that just allow you to feed this right through down to the grapevine. And once that glue hits that grapevine, it's going to really adhere. You know, it'll set up quickly and adhere. All right, let's just keep churning this around. Remember, when we get to the next level, we want to make sure that we hit the underneath the bow as well. We want to have blooms all around the bow, not just on the top and the bottom of the bow. We need to push them in. I'm not going to push this one in. I want it to be a little further out. We'll fix our ribbons. Alrighty. Take out the yellow as the next one. Now, sometimes I will say, when you work on a grapevine, you might poke through the back. Not intentionally, but when it's all done, just turn your wreath over, and if there's anything sticking out through the back, you just have to trim it off. No real harm in that. And again, with the stems, decorating myself with glue strings. Let's put this one in here. I think the purple buds that we're going to put in next are going to really pull this all in, because right now everything kind of looks light to me, but we need the depth of that purple, I think, the deeper color. Get some. There we go. And this is our last one. Okay, let's move on to the purple. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to just spread the purple throughout the wreath. All right, let's count up the ones that we have. We have 4. So we want 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top. All right, so we have other purple. Now this one does have that eucalyptus on it, so let's bend it a little bit, give it some depth here. Okay. Let's see, I think purple, we need something here. Then something down here. Same thing, remember, just, they're all wired. Give it a little twist or bend. Let's put it in here. Right. Now, if this eucalyptus is giving you some trouble, let's just do this. Let's take it off. Put the flower in first. And then put the eucalyptus in right after it. That way you're not having to deal with trying to get both of them working. Well, that eucalyptus is just laughing at me right now. It's going to work for us. There we go. Aha, Mr. Eucalyptus. Now let's get up here to the top with these 2. And then we'll glue in all the purple. Alrighty, let's take off this leaf. We don't need that one. Now we're going to just take this. Okay, maybe put it in. We're going to cut it down quite a bit because it doesn't have far to go. But I do see a kind of a void in this area. And probably a void over here. Maybe right there. We'll put it on the inside of the wreath this time. Okay, let's get this cut off a little bit. Alright, and then just push it through. There we go. Let's see how that looks. I think the two purple down below look a little too close. So let's just move him. Of course, he's the troublemaker. We're going to just move him over just a little bit more. We have lots of other flowers to put in there, but I think just the color of the purple makes it look a little too close. Let's see if that looks, I think that's a little bit better spread. So let's glue these in real quick. And then we'll go on to the next couple of flowers that I've brought with me. And remember, you don't want them all on the same plane. You want some high, some low, some coming a little upwards out of the wreath, some laying deeper into the wreath. Eucalyptus in. Okay. Let's go to the top. Stick him in. And finally, our last one in this grouping. There we go. All right. Now, what other flowers do I have? I have some of this blue. I think it doesn't match exactly, but I'm not concerned about that. Nothing in nature is exactly the same, is it? So let's just cut some of these off. What I like about them is they give us a different color, different texture, and the depth of, let's take off this leaf. I don't need this, looks like a dandelion, because it's got this gentle, this little greenery underneath it. But let's just see, for instance, how this one looks tucked in here. Just going to bend it a little bit to get it in to that grapevine. Let's see. I'm not quite sure I like it there. I definitely like this flower. I like that it's added to this, but I didn't like how it was laying there. Let's try it this way. Now I know that you can't really see it from the top, but you'll be able to see it. Ooh, there it is. Okay, so, and I want something underneath here. So let's have one hang out a little bit. Take off the dandelion leaf. He was really hoping he was going to be able to shine, but he can't. Not today. tell you what, that's too close to the other blue one, so let's spread it out a bit. Let's go on this side of it. Let's go up here. And there's our grapevine that we can attach it into. You always want to try to get that grapevine in it because that's where the stability of your flowers, you know, will be. Okay, this one I am just going to glue in because once I get it through this mesh into the grapevine, I don't want to have to pull it out again and try to reposition it. So I'm just going to put it in. There we go. It's making a mockery of me right now. There it is. I got it through. Had to get it through the mesh as well. There we go. So let's see what other, we have two more. Let's see if we can get by with just one more. If we space it out a little bit more. Let's go up here and see what it looks like up here. All right, we have one here. We have one here. Now let's go up here and put it in up here. Okay, let's put that in. Okay, not pushing it down. It's going to stay out there a little bit, and we have to glue in this last one down here. This one is so far tucked in, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my glue gun, go down to the base of that stem where it is, just put a shot of glue in there. Okay, so you don't have to take it out. And you're going to glue it right at the source where it connects right up to that, it connects into that grapevine. All right, let's see. What other little doodads do we have? We have these cute little blue buttons. I think they'll give kind of an airiness to this. So let's take and I need this. All right, and then I need to just cut this off, just so I can make the list for you. All righty, now let's just cut these as far down as we can. Okay. There's 6 of them to work with. And we'll just disperse them, 3 up on top of the bow, 3 below the bow. And just kind of in a triangle pattern if we can. Of course, not all the flowers I put in have been in triangle forms because we've had odd numbers. But pretty much what you do below the bow, you do above the bow. And, oh yeah, see how those, they just add a cute little squiggle coming out of there. It's always amazing what just the littlest thing, how it changes the look of something. I think I'd rather have it in front down here. Okay, so let's do the 3 this way. Let's catch the grapevine underneath here. There we go. And then the grapevine up here. Just feeding it down through. There we go. It's okay that it's coming straighter, out just a bit straighter, or upwards as opposed to laying down. But that's okay. That's what gives your wreath the depth and dimension. See? Okay, let's turn it around, put the other 3 in at the top. This little guy's gonna go here. Okay. I think we need one coming out here. Give it a little bit of a pop there. Again, when I'm separating I'm looking for the place to put these. I'm separating where the mesh is and just pushing it right down into the grapevine. Let's put one up here at the top. Give our top a little bit of a ornamentation. Okay. Now here you go. Just take a look at, see how your wreath is filling out. See if you see any gaps. Like I see a gap up here that I want to put something. And where else? I see a lot of mesh here that I would like to put something here. Now the thing is, I have also purchased a bluebird and a nest. So I'm going to see if I can find a nice place to put this nest and a bluebird. I mean, maybe this would be the perfect place for the nest. Now the bluebirds, unfortunately, I couldn't find a bluebird that matched the same hue, but I think in the bird nation, everybody gets along. Well, generally. I guess you really can't say that blindly. But in my bird nation, how's that? Everybody gets along no matter what color you are. So yes, he's not the exact same color, but he's kind of a pretty addition to this wreath. So I'm going to set that there. I'm still going to look for quick little flowers to punch in. And maybe that's where we're going to use this. We don't really have too much, and this is a different color purple. So let's try some of these. Again, remember these were from Amazon. See if we like these. We do have to still spread them around. Get them in and out of this. Now let's put one more on the top. 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. Okay. Let's see what our bottom, where we can put these on the bottom part. The bottom part's a little tighter as far as there's less space below the bow, so but we still want to get that all the different colors dispersed all the way through. And I think I'm not going to leave one on the stem, so I'm going to use all 7 of them. But I'll put one right here in this space of the bow. And then maybe one over up here. That's too close. Let's put it in here. Or maybe right here. You can see how this can take you. You can really take your time and put this together. Okay, so that's finally the look I'm going to go. I'm going to glue in the last 7 purples, and then I'll glue in the bird and the nest, and we'll call it finished. Okay, so let's just finish these up quickly. Get the glue stick up there. Get down to that grapevine. Remember, cut cut your stems as long as possible, because you can always trim them if they're not going to fit right. But they don't regrow. I'm going to tuck down just a little, give it a little depth, because the other one that's kind of close to it is right here. And this one, down to the grapevine. Okay, 3 more on the bottom here. Just have it poking out a little bit from the ribbon. Besides purple and yellow make great companions. So this is down. There we go. And the final purple one here. Okay, so you do have a triangle with that. And now let's just put in now with this bird's nest, I'm just going to glob some glue on it. Be very careful, that glue is going to come right through that nest. Just putting a healthy amount of glue on that. And then I'm going to just stick it right on this mesh. Just hold it for a few seconds. And there we go. Doesn't take long. The same with the bird. I'm going to just cut off this wire that comes, the bird comes with a wire. We don't need it. And we'll just put it in the nest. Okay, so I'm going to glob the glue on the bird. Be very careful. And you can just rest in there. I just feel like I need something right here. Let me think this one through real quick. I think it's these leaves that are making it dark. Let's see what we have. Oh, well, for goodness sakes. I forgot to enter these in. These came with that first bush. Well, this is going to be perfect. Sorry, folks, if you thought I was done. I just want to finish. I don't want these to go to waste. They give a great little different texture. Berries. I'm putting this real close to the bird so he doesn't have to leave his nest. It's almost like an Uber. There's your food. The berries are right next to you. And then make this a little bit longer because we want this poking out here. So we need something here that. And really, as you're designing, if you want to take a picture, if you ever want to see what your design looks like, sometimes the best way, because when you're working on it, it always seems like it's working out. But if you take a picture of your wreath, and in my case, I'm able to look at it online. I mean, as the camera, what the camera sees, I can see myself. But if you take a picture of yours, it gives you a very good chance to see what your design looks like. I know, I changed my mind. I just saw this spot here. But by taking a picture or looking, in this case, in the camera, you can see if you have voids or if you have areas that could be filled better. And you just take the time and stick things in. That doesn't sound very professional, but what I'm saying is just take the time and put things where you have those voids. Look at that. One little thing took away that void. So I can see that I'm pretty much all out of room with my where else to put things. I'm very happy with how this turned out. I hope that this has inspired you to either make a mesh wreath on a regular frame or dare to be different and try it on a grapevine using the technique we use today. Simply zip tie some mesh in and then design around it. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry to keep giving you false hope that this is over, but I did just see that my wreath didn't really have a very good shape. It was like, so it needs just a little something there. But I will probably adjust this just a few more times. I'll go out and take a picture of it to see if that's the final look. But I think it pretty much is. It's just a spring wreath with multiple flowers, all built off of this beautiful ribbon. You can find most of these supplies, if not all of them, at trendytree.com. Thank you very much for spending your time with me.